So this video is going to be about seed selection, not necessarily seed starting. I'll kind of give a brief overview of what you're looking at here. But first off, I want to kind of get into the seeds that I selected, because that's going to help you choose what one of our teams that you're going to pick for Pumpkin Wars. So before we get into what seeds I chose, kind of going to briefly explain what we got going on here. So I have a dome. And this dome has 3 baggies. Now I've soaked the seeds for about 1 to 2 hours in just plain water. That's after I filed the edges to kind of scuff them up a little bit. And what we have here now is seeds that have been sitting in wet, moist paper towels for about 24 hours. They'll probably be in these paper towels and bags for another 24 hours before a root will pop. So about another 24 to 48 hours and we should see some activity. As you can see in the middle of the screen there's a probe which is monitoring the temperature inside that dome right at seed level. So what that probe is doing is it's monitoring the temperature on top. That's the real-time temperature. And then the temperature on bottom, which is the temperature I'm shooting for. So with the light being on, spiking up. So it's actually entered a cooling mode. This particular thermostat actually will heat and cool if you have the right things plugged into the plug. So the way that that plug works is it has a heating outlet and a cooling outlet. So you hook up different devices depending on what you want done. Now I could put a fan or something like that to suck out the air, but this light generally isn't on and boosting that temperature over 82 degrees. I have a heating mat underneath this blanket here at the base, and then that turns off whenever it gets over 82 degrees. Alright, let's get into seed selection and what I've chosen for this season, and hopefully that gives you an idea on which team that you want to choose. Hopefully based on my selection that'll help you make a sound decision. I think I've got a pretty good lineup. So the first fruit in the lineup is going to be the 563.5 Theo. Now that's the 1109 Jutras times self. And the reason I selected this one is because of obviously the lineage being 1109 and also with the nice green color that's come through on multiple generations. So I think it's more important to have on a green squash, you already take yourself out of the running if you got a mixed pumpkin with a squash in recent generations. You could potentially grow out a whole plant and go through half to 3/4 of a season and end up being a pumpkin. So it's always a risk, but I'd rather take that risk with some genetics that have some solid green in it. So what we have here is the 955 Rotoball. Now that's not the seed I'm going to be growing. I'm going to be growing the seed that grew this. Now this was a West Virginia state record for squash. It was grown from the 126.5 Pierpont, and that's what I'm going to end up growing is the 126.5. It's going to be in my 150 patch, and it's going to be the pollinator for the tile squash. Now for the first of the pumpkins I have up, I'm going to grow the 1965.5 Rotoball. Now this is grown to fruit over 1,000 pounds by newer growers who were growing in small square footages. We're talking under 500 square feet. I believe one of them was actually grown on 300 square feet. Both of those growers actually went 12 and 13% heavy. So although they were grown on relatively small areas, they had over 1,000 pounds, had heavy to chart. Chris had a very nice one on last year that was growing real well, and I believe there was also another fruit that was growing that was on pace for 1,700 plus pounds. So with the genetic background, I really like the ability and potential for this fruit to grow big as well as heavy. So speaking of heavy, that's why this seed was chosen. The 1989.5 Conway went 18% heavy to chart. It had a parent in its lineage that went 20% heavy to chart, and it was a personal best for Tanner at nearly 700 pounds more than his previous largest pumpkin. So we're going to continue the trend of heavy seeds and genetics with the 2195 Theo. This pumpkin went 22% heavy, again had the same pollinator as the Conway. It grew multiple fruit that went heavy to chart, and it also grew the second largest pumpkin in Colorado. On to my 2376 Bayuk. This pumpkin went 14% heavy. It has very steady plant growth, and it continues throughout the entire year. That's very crucial in the South, where you need to have growth all year long and healthy foliage. And the last fruit, the 2493 Wolf, is the 2365 Wolf times Self. This pumpkin has not only the ability to grow another state record, but also the potential to grow a world record. And it's a beautiful fruit. Now that you've seen my lineup, hopefully that encourages you all to join in and join Team Scott. We have some really heavy genetics and some big genetics and potential for some special things to happen. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Catch you on the next one.